tell me to do. I'm going to do what you tell me to do. I just need to know it's you. Just like Joseph needed to know that was the angel of the Lord that told him, it's okay, it's safe. You need to take her and not put her away. Now, we know that Joseph was a just man because Scripture told us he was. Why? Because he didn't want to just destroy her life. He didn't want to drag her name through the mud. He didn't want to tell everybody she ran off and got pregnant, and he didn't have anything to do with it. So he decided to do what? Put her away quietly. Why? Because he was a just man. When we look at why was he a just man, because that's who he was already. He wasn't a just man because he decided to put her away quietly. He was a just man because that's who he was before all this started. How many times have you been a just person in your life before things got started and it didn't change the fact that you were a just person anyway? All that stuff didn't change anything. You were who you were then and you are who you are now, based upon the fact that none of that stuff changed. Just because God's plan collides with your plans doesn't change the fact whether you're just or unjust. It doesn't mean that you were unjust and God came along and collided with your plan, and now because He collided with your plan, you're now just. You were just before. It's just that sometimes God's plan collides with our plan. And we think our plan is a God plan. How many know we can miss God? I think that we look all through Scripture and people miss God. And we miss God sometimes and it affects people's lives. We miss God so bad sometimes that it, especially when you're in leadership, you can really mess people's lives up. Did that make you unjust because you did? No. Just sometimes we have to learn to hear God in the midst of all the stuff that's going on. And just because we made a mistake, just because something happened, doesn't mean that we get off track and now we run the other direction. Joseph could have run away. He could have said, I'm not having anything to do with this. You betrayed me. You did wrong. I don't care what that angel said. You should have come and told him to ask me. Right? Because I got something to do with this. You would think, seriously, you would think God would have made that known to him in the first. You would think that, right? Does God have to ask his permission? No. But did not Joseph have something to do with this? Wasn't he the man betrothed to her to marry her, and yet God caused her to become pregnant? That could have created some awfully instability in Joseph. He could have got mad at God. How come you didn't involve me in this? How come you didn't tell me about this? How come you went somewhere without letting me know? Because this is affecting my life too, God. Right? You ever felt like that God did something, you're like, Lord, this affects me too. Why do people get hurt at church? Because they feel like maybe they weren't given any information or direction or purpose. And next thing you know, they get mad or angry at God. Well, how come we didn't know about this? How come I didn't know about this? Not making any sense. But still come back to that place where Joseph had to trust God. He had to trust Him. He had to believe that what was happening was God. Because what was the other alternative? To live his life in misery. Either trust God in this circumstance or not trust God. Either Joseph is a just man or he's not. Either he is just because God was making it all okay, or he is just because that's who he was to start with. So, what makes us just? What makes us righteous? Is it because the acts we do or don't do? Is that what makes us right? Because when you look at Elizabeth, she goes off and she's in a spiritual bliss. Angel comes to her, tells her you're going to conceive. She's now pregnant with a holy seed. She goes off to see her aunt because something's happening over here too, so she's going to get involved in this spiritual thing that's going on here with Elizabeth and John the Baptist. And guess what's happening? Joseph is over there all by himself. All this time he's getting left out of all the things that are going on. She goes over and spends 3 months in bliss with her aunt, with all that's happening now with Elizabeth and John and Zechariah. She comes back 3 months later, big old smile on her face, everything's great. And he's like, well, everything don't look great to me. Matter of fact, it looks like there's something stinks. How do I know I can trust you? You say, that's not written in there. It doesn't have to be written in there. There's human nature involved here. We've all heard God, and then next thing you know, we're questioning it. We've heard God and go, is that you? Do you really have anything to do with this? I mean, how many know God will put you in prison? Okay, and then you can't ask, you can't help but wonder, who did this? Well, you did it, but, type of thing. God just helped you get there, right? So what am I trying to say in this? Well, and by the way, I'm going to get done early today. I'm not going to keep you long. When we look at what was Joseph saying, we look at the plans that he had planned for his life. I'm sure he had planned for him and Mary to have an awesome life, to have children. But now he's gotten stuck. Listen to me. Let's go to the spiritual side. He got stuck with a child that's not his, and he's a spiritual child that everything you do raising him can affect not just you, but the world. That's a heavy burden to put on somebody, right? Think about that for a moment. That's a pretty heavy burden. To deal with the fact that you've been given a child that's not yours. You got to raise this child that's not yours. There's no child support coming in the natural. And you got to shoulder this responsibility. So what do you do? How do you handle it? How do you deal with it? See, I think Joseph got to be in this position because he was a just man. I think he got put there because this is a ministry that, to be honest, it's a very shaky ministry. Raising the Son of God into the place that he grows up right.